Welcome to the TaleMaker demo. Today we're going to look at TaleMaker's main features. TaleMaker is a narrative tool designed to help teams get their ideas into a game as fast as possible. It lets you create simple or complex conversations and display them in a game very quickly. It also allows intuitive, streamlined iteration and creative solutions. It's engine agnostic, meaning it works with any engine via the TaleMaker plugin. We currently have plugins for Unreal 4 and 5, but can create new plugins for any engine at need. Most narrative tools out there force developers to work in an all-or-nothing format. They ask teams to work in either a script view, which is terrible for structuring complex conversation flows, or in a diagram view, which is terrible for writing great characters and interactions. Some tools ask the creative developer to switch back and forth between views. All of these are suboptimal workflows. TaleMaker is a hybrid view, allowing developers to balance two priorities in their mind at once, creating great narrative interactions and structuring them correctly. And then it makes it easy to script those interactions. Let's dive in. Okay, so here's TaleMaker. It's a desktop application with all the things you would expect. You can open files, save them, or close them. There are keyboard shortcuts for everything, so you never have to take your fingers off the keyboard. We've got light and dark modes for different users. And we have a tab view at the top so you can keep multiple conversations open at once and easily tab back and forth between them. For the moment, let's just create a new conversation. The first thing to notice is that we've got a node here with a speaker tag assigned. The speaker is someone named Aaron. We can change it to Jimbo, Lorraine, Mechanic, anyone we want. This speaker list is populated by our character database over here. You can very easily create characters, customize them with an image, name them, and write down some information about them. Perhaps for a casting sheet to be used later, or maybe just for other devs to know about that character. You may notice that nodes are in alternating colors, with the speakers being Aaron and Player. TaleMaker assumes that when an NPC is done speaking, the player will respond, and when the player is done speaking, the last NPC to speak will respond. It creates this rhythm for your speed and convenience when writing, but you're not bound by it. You can have 2 or 3 NPC nodes in a row, or as many as you want. You might do this to break up a long line into several shorter ones. It may just be for the actor's performance to let them give a better read. Or maybe there's another NPC that's interjecting in the middle of the conversation, and you can just change the speaker tag to add a new NPC. Speaking of breaking a longer line into shorter ones, we should talk about character count. You may notice that there's a character count on the right-hand side of the field where you enter text. As you type, it dynamically updates to show how many characters are in your line. It's set to a max of 130 characters, and as you near the max, the color changes from black to orange. And when you exceed the count, it changes to a worrisome red. There might be a variety of reasons a team would want to have a character limit on lines. It may be a stylistic or creative choice, or it may have to do with the UX or screen real estate, but the narrative designer should know how many characters they're using as they go. In this case, the limit is 130, but that is just the value I set in preferences. Each project can set their own limit. It could be very short or a ridiculously high number, effectively having no limit. TaleMaker does allow the designer to go over the limit in case they simply want to write a long line and then break it into smaller parts. TaleMaker is always trying to avoid limiting the designer's creative process. Each time you finish a node and hit return, you get a new node with the cursor queued up so you can create a linear conversation very quickly. Each new node is a child of the one that came before, making it very easy to visually parse that this is a linear conversation, which will just play from beginning to end in-game. When TaleMaker sees a linear conversation, it tells the game to run it. There's no place for user input. As we saw earlier, you can create multiple NPC nodes in a row, and it will still play in a linear fashion. The same is true of player nodes. They follow the exact same logic as NPC nodes. I mentioned that each node is the child or parent of another node, and all the rules you would expect apply. If you delete a node, you delete all its children. If you drag a node to a new location, it will insert itself in the conversation and bring all its children with it. And yes, we have drag and drop. TaleMaker provides all the logic for how the dropped line inserts itself into the conversation structure. TaleMaker is great for quickly creating linear conversations that will work in any game engine. But its real strength lies in how easy it is to create deep, branching conversations. One way to branch is to create 2 or more player nodes that are siblings. They exist at the same level in the hierarchy and have the same parent. Sibling player nodes mean that the player will see multiple options to choose from. The conversation stops and waits for the player to make a choice before proceeding. We can create as many of these siblings as we want. You'll notice that as soon as we have 2 sibling player nodes, a new field appears on the left side of the node. This is where the on-screen UI is entered. The text on the left is what the player sees in order to make their choice in the game. The text on the right is the line that plays when the player makes that choice. The UI text on the left has its own character count limit. Because the screen real estate is likely much tighter than that of a normal line, this can also be set in preferences. There are many types of branching conversations that use player choice. Some can be built around one central choice, or you can construct a looping topic picker conversation of the type seen in many open world games. Or you can create a deep, responsive branching conversation that goes down a lot of avenues. All are simple to create in TaleMaker. As we look at a complex branching conversation, you can see that the view is incredibly easy to parse. We see the player choices and their parent. We can expand each choice to see what happens after it's selected. We can see the entire branch created by that choice. We can collapse it and see all the choices again in a tidy, compact fashion. We don't need to switch views between script writing view and diagram view. It's super easy and intuitive to track. If you created a branching conversation with player choice, but you reach a point in the conversation where you want the player to just say something automatically, you just create one player node and it will autoplay the same way an NPC node would. Those are the very basics of TaleMaker. Did you know that NPC lines can branch too? To find out more, check out the next TaleMaker video. There will be cookies, so come on back.